Every day and every night of our lives, our brains perform to keep us alive. And once basic survival needs are met, our brains have the capacity to perform in remarkable ways, allowing us to thrive in an ever-changing world. But we don't do this on our own. We survive and thrive in groups by looking after each other's needs at the most basic level. A good example is the need of all groups to allocate resources like food and shelter and distribute these fairly among the individuals in the group, which is pretty much what we do in business. So to thrive in business and in life, new insight into how the brain performs will ensure that the organization and the people in it are able to perform at their very best. Not that long ago, during the short history of humanity, we sat around open fires at night to stay warm, to stay alive. But an open fire can also be life-threatening. Even a small burn that turned septic could have cost our ancestors their lives. This was a challenging problem that had to be solved. The brain had to come up with a creative solution, and it did. Whenever one of our ancestors came too close to the fire, they would reflexively pull away the endangered limb, not because it burned, but because of the sensation of high temperature. At the most basic level, the spinal cord reflexively pulled an endangered arm or leg away from the life-threatening fire. The brain had solved the basic problem of the danger of an open fire. And at the most sophisticated level, the brain created solutions and innovative ways to make use of fire for its life-giving warmth and its energy. To summarize, the brain solves the problem of survival first at a very basic level. At the same time, the sophisticated areas of the brain build more refined and innovative solutions for problems that promote the group's survival and ability to thrive, exactly as we do in business. Every day, the brain solves basic problems at a basic level and sophisticated problems at a sophisticated level. The brain is vastly unconscious. In fact, neuroscientists believe the ratio of unconscious to conscious is in the region of 10,000 to 1. And here is one of the most fascinating things you will learn about how your brain performs. We solve problems mainly in the unconscious. In truth, we often come up with our most creative innovations during sleep. Consider how often you come up with a solution to a complex problem when you are not consciously thinking about it. In the shower, while exercising, or after a little mind wandering. A good example of the unconscious at work is when you have to recall someone's name or any memory for that matter. If you cannot remember right away, just focus on something else, and within seconds to minutes, you are likely to recall the name you were looking for. The brain performs in the unconscious. Achieving your goals isn't just about hard work, it's also about how your brain directs your attention. Remember, the brain performs to keep us alive and help us thrive in life. Every day is filled with challenges. Some threaten us, others offer opportunity. At the most basic level, these challenges can be life-threatening, like natural disasters. Others may simply be problems that need to be solved to remove discomfort. At a more sophisticated level, there are problems that may improve the quality of our lives when we solve them. To enable us to do this, the brain developed a remarkably complex system to direct our attention to cues that threaten and to cues that reward. It seems, though, that we are much more geared to avoiding threats than to seeking rewards. Possibly 3 to 4 times more. This is because the brain unconsciously needs to pay attention first to the most basic cues threatening its survival, But while the brain responds first to threats, it also draws us to those things in life that will promote our survival, rewarding us with feelings of pleasure when we achieve our goals. The next step to understanding brain performance is to know a few practical things about your brain. It weighs just 1.5 kilograms and has somewhere between 80 to 100 billion electrically active brain cells called neurons. Connected by a vast wiring system, each individual neuron can make up to 40,000 connections with other neurons, although the average may be closer to 10,000. Still, that's a lot of connections, about 1,000,000 trillion. Want to know more amazing facts about your brain? Individual neurons can fire at a rate of 100 times per second. Your brain is capable of making up to 100 million trillion calculations per second. Just as fascinating is the fact that your neurons also make very complex connections with each other. The connecting points are called synapses. When a cell fires in your brain, an electric current runs down the wire connecting it to another cell. And at the connecting point, chemicals are released into a space between the end of the wire and the next brain cell. This chemical binds onto the next brain cell, and by switching on the electricity, an electrical circuit is created. The chemicals that are released are called neurotransmitters. One whose name you may recognize is serotonin, the neurotransmitter that makes us feel good about life. Most antidepressants work by making more serotonin available at the brain cell connections. Another well-known neurotransmitter is dopamine. This is one we all love because it is responsible for sensations of pleasure. To ensure their proper function, your electrically active brain cells are supported by trillions of so-called glial cells, some of them forming insulating sausage-like wrappings called myelin around the main connecting wires. In fact, myelin enhances the speed of the electrical current by up to 100 times. If we lose myelin and the speed of the current is significantly slowed, we can develop a condition called multiple sclerosis. This brings us to one of the most exciting recent discoveries in neuroscience, the fact that neurons have the ability to regrow and to regenerate. In simple terms, this means your brain can give birth to new neurons in a process called neurogenesis. This ability of the brain to form new neurons and new circuits as needed is called neuroplasticity. And the best news is that this can take place throughout life. One known mechanism the brain uses to grow new brain cells and to form new connections is by producing chemicals called growth factors. These growth factors are released by neighbor neurons to stimulate new and old neurons to grow, to form new connections, and even to strengthen existing connections. We also now know that activities like exercise can enhance the release of these growth factors in the brain. The best known growth factor is called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, one of the many growth factors that drive neuroplasticity. It is also important to understand that the brain consists of physical circuits. Every thought is a physical process, a process that can be honed and sharpened to enhance brain performance.